Hello everyone, it's QiQiBuns here, and I play on the North American server. This is my first video ever, so please bear with me if you can. So just for background information on, where I came from, who I am, from, AoV's point of view. I was a Conqueror back in Season 18, and the trio that I ran with was with Nicky Wormy and Wolf-K5. I was the main jungler with them, while Nicky Wormy was the mid main, and Wolf-K5 was the AD carry main. So that was the team I would always play with. But quite frankly, I went solo queue a lot during Season 18, so not completely self-made, but also not completely reliant on team. But yeah, those were good times. But obviously now with the new season and the season before, since then, I've only hit master, not conqueror level, just because, life is there. It's my first priority. So I'm just not playing competitively anymore. So I'm just playing for fun. So, but, now I just try to make content for my fan base, and then for anyone else that likes to watch or learn. I want to just help the community. So yeah, so this is just a background info on me, and then just the Chi basics. For Slayer lane. So just to go over Chi and her basics, regardless of his jungle or Slayer. So first thing I want to go over is her passive. Obviously, AoV is kind of slow on updating the description, so don't mind that too much. But basically with her passive, what it is when after you use a skill, you gain 2 stacks, and you can have a max of 4 stacks. So after you use 2 skills, simultaneously you can only have up to 4. The thing is, every time you have those stacks, and when you auto attack or normal attack, those attacks are considered empowered, so let's call it that. Which those empowered attacks mean you gain some HP back, you gain some armor, and at the same time you deal a little bit more damage. So that's why they're empowered. So you want to weave in your auto attacks or normal attacks as much as possible while you're using your skills in a fight or just a skirmish of some sort, while you're in game, because that will make you tankier, obviously, make you stay alive longer and deal more damage at the same time. So that's just a tip there. And a fighting Chi is always a lot harder to kill than a running Chi, because the running Chi is, has less armor and less HP regen. So that's just another thing as well. So for going over her first skill, so her S1 is also a knockup and a dash. So the knockup happens within that dash if you hit an enemy, and it's great to close gaps, to retreat, and to cause CC or crowd control. The next skill, this is her main skill that you are going to max out first, and you should always max out first and level up first in any game. Unless you're playing support, then you would go with your S1 dash. But for S2, this shreds the enemy's armor, so it decreases their armor by 15 up to 5 times. That's about 75. So, but if you look, once you increase the base level, it goes up to 40. So 40 times 5, that's quite a bit of armor being reduced. And not only that, at the tip and end of the animation of this skill, at the enemy hero or minion that you're hitting will also be slowed just slightly. So just keep that in mind. And then, I'll go over later with the build and how that works with her S2. So for her S3, this is what she's known for, with making those crazy plays or just failing miserably. And that's her ultimate, and it's a knockback. And there's 2 parts to this. So if you hit an enemy minion or hero and it hits the wall, then it will automatically trigger the second dash, and that second dash is like a execute almost. Actually, it's a little bit better depending on how much health that the enemy has. So you want to hold off on using that second dash until the enemy's HP is low as possible with you using skills or your teammates hurting it. But let's say if you miss and you don't get them against the wall, then it will activate within 3 seconds. So you still get your second dash, just not as soon. But now if you just miss out completely, then you just wasted your ultimate, and then now you're stuck in a position where you're probably going to die or not have any stun to help your team out. So her S1s are bread and butter, S2 is your damage and your armor reducer on the enemy team, and your last skill is your best, I guess, trapping skill and damage skill at the same time. So that's the basic of Qi. As far as running talent on her for Slayer lane, you definitely want to always bring Flicker, just because that gets you closer to the enemy if they're further away, so you can catch them in weird angles. Also, you have that the famous S1 flicker, so as soon as you use your S1, if you can catch it at the right time and use your flicker, it will change the direction of your S1. So you can like go diagonal one way and then flicker behind, so you go back to your original position, or to the side, and you actually surprise the enemy that way. So it's good to use if you want to like guarantee a knockup, and then that way you can use your ultimate right after. Or it's just good for you know, getting closer to the enemy, like I said before, and getting in those different hard angles that the enemies you know, don't predict. And the best way to play Qi is to be unpredictable, because you know, people are going to try to purify or cleanse your ultimate, or they're going to just dodge it. So just keep that in mind. So, use flicker. If you're jungle, obviously punish. So the next portion to her guide, her Arcana. So this is the basic, you know, all around general Arcana that I use for any situation with Qi. So I run pretty much 9 onslaught and 1 atrocity. The atrocity for the potential to, you know, have a critical hit, and the onslaught's just to have attack damage and armor pierce, because armor pierce is very important on Qi, to, you know, deal damage to the tanky heroes out there. So the next one is assassinate. 10 of those assassinates rather than gorilla, just because you don't really need the extra attack speed, although it is helpful for Qi to, you know, pull off those auto attacks faster. But if you think about it, the way your playstyle is with Qi, you want to go in, deal as much damage as possible, hopefully kill the enemy carries, and get yourself out of there. So that's your purpose as Qi. And then lastly is 10 skewers, just like, again, like I said, extra attack and more armor pierce. And then when I'm playing Slayer, sometimes I will go with this, and this is the only difference with this one is that there's an extra atrocity, just so you have more extra critical chance, because you're going to be in smaller fights, and that could be extended, so that just gives you a higher chance of causing that to happen for you. Always run Devil's Awakening with her, because you want your S1 and S2 to reset as soon as you hit that ultimate on the enemies, because that means you can dash more and deal more damage, you know, and regen more and stay tankier longer while you're in the fight. So I got Devour for her, just because when you kill enemies, you want to heal some HP again, so that helps you with the, you know, being more dangerous than if you were to use any of the other ones. She doesn't dash enough, so you won't need the other enchantment. So here, damage boost, again, you know, dealing more damage. And then you want to run Enhanced Restore, just because you can stay longer in lane and roam longer without having to go back. The Mark of Frost, the Ice Orb, is great actually for certain comps, enemy compositions where they have a lot of assassins, like Pain or Cricknet, and some other heroes that, you know, might just try to delete you, and that's a good one to hold on to. And then lastly, League of Humans, just so you get extra damage. So lastly, I'm going to go over her build for Slayer lane. So this is her, I guess, most standard build based on the meta, and based off of what I've seen is most successful, and based off of my personal preference. So the 3 basic items that you're definitely going to keep that standard for Qi is obviously going to be Boots, Spirit Logonitis, or Logonitis Spear, and Omni Arms. That's going to be your staple, but of course, you know, in certain situations, depending on your team composition or enemy team composition, you're going to change your build order and change different items based on that to accommodate that. So your first item is going to be always going to be Boots. I mean, you can kind of be a little cheeky and cheesy by using you know, getting that short sword first to deal damage. I mean, that's a little more 50-50 though, so unless you're like really confident, or you just want to, you know, try being you know, a little more edgy, I guess you can do that. But I recommend you go for a Gilded Greaves usually, because there's going to be usually 2 mages on the enemy team. But if not, you know, it's a Arena of Valor, but also Arena of CC, so Gilded Greaves is going to be your best bet. You do want to get Sonic Boots in the cases of where you're reversing enemies like Omen, Kilgroth, Nakaroth, and Hayate. Any other auto attack based and heroes, and the ones that rely on speed with their attack. So you want to get Sonic Boots and then later on switch to Gilded Greaves, or keep it depending on how you know, severe that they're reliant on their auto attacks. Next is Spear of Longinus, or Longinus Spear, now that they changed it, is your most critical and important item on Qi. It works amazing with her S2 skill. The reason being is because you have your passive that decreases the enemy's armor by 60 up to 4 times, so that's 240. And then if you pair that with your S2 skill, if you pull off all 5 stacks of that, that's an extra, I think, 200, because it's like 40 times 5. So 200 plus 240, you're decreasing the enemy's armor by 440. And imagine if you hit, you know, 3 or more enemies on the enemy team with your S2 completely. Not only you slow them at the very end, but you decrease all their armor by almost, you know, 440 armor. So that makes it easier for your team to kill and for you to kill as well. So it's a really good item, and it's a really good team-focused based item. I mean, there's times where you're going to go Rank Breaker. It just depends, but 90% of the time I use Spear of Longinus. Rank Breaker is good for teams where your enemy team does not have many tanks and they only have 1, and they have a lot of assassins or a lot of squishies. Rank Breaker is really good to use to get rid of them fast and to end the game sooner. But if the game drags out any longer, I would personally switch it back to Longinus Spear, because that's a lot more stable item. The next is Omni Arms. So this also gives you cooldown, you know, HP, attack speed, and whatnot. But again, the passive is what you're looking for, and this is like an additional empowerment to your passive, like I was saying before. It's that it doesn't heal you, and it doesn't, you know, give you extra armor, but it does, you know, deal a little bit more damage, like when you have your stacks up and you being used. And then additionally, the other biggest thing about this item is that your normal attacks increase your movement speed. So this helps you to chase down enemies, or just weave in auto attacks while you're using your skills, or run away. So really great item, but sometimes you might not build it. It just depends. So next is Fenrir's Tooth. If you're farming pretty well, or if you're ahead, build this item next, because you're going to deal insane amount of damage, especially with the 30% when the target HP is below 50. So it's going to work really well with your second dash and the way that Qi's playstyle is supposed to be played. You're just going to go in, delete the enemies, and get out. So really great item. If you're behind, obviously go with your situational defense item. So it's going to be Shield of the Lost or Medallion of Troy of some sort first, and then get Fenrir's Tooth, or you might not, just depending. So the next item is a situational item. It's your 5th item usually. It's going to be Medallion of Troy for the most part, just because it gives you the extra shield. It prevents you from getting one-shotted completely from assassins like Kriknak and a few other ones out there. Pain. But yeah, so it's great for against mage comps, but also against enemy comps that have assassin and one-shot potential like Wukong as well. So that shield's going to give you the extra buffer before it actually deals damage to your actual health. Now, you want to build a Shield of the Lost if, again, like I said, if there's at least around 2 or more auto attack based heroes like Hayate, Kilgroth, Nakaroth, Omen, and stuff like that. That's going to be really good at slowing them down and, you know, not hurting you as much. And also, this is a great item to slow enemies down. So even if a mage uses an item that deals damage over time, like Derek, or if they build that Bertha's armor, I think it's what it's called, and it deals damage over time, that's going to slow them at the same time. So it's like a way for you to punish them for punishing you, in a way. So it's a great item to use for that. And then lastly, Blade of Eternity, and, you know, switch it out with Death Sickle and Rock Shield, depending on how it goes. But yeah, you want to build and swap them when they're on cooldown, just to increase your survival. And then lastly, Curse of Death, or Death Curse now that they call it, is the anti-heal item for Chi and for all the attack damage types of heroes. You're going to want to build this item early on rather than later, just because you want to prevent the enemies from healing so much that they get fed, and then it's like almost unkillable later on in late game. And also, you don't want to get it late game. I mean, you can, depending on the situation, if you have another teammate that's building it, or they don't really have much healing potential. But you want to get it early just so you can combat that and prevent your team from dying so much to them, or them from not being able to be killed. So this item is great for enemies like Omen, Kilgroth, Lubu, Lorion, L'Oreal, all those healing type of champions, Pura, just so you can prevent the enemy team from being healed as well. So I definitely say this is build a lot more so than often. So if you were going to be building it, you're going to build your boots, Death Curse, Omni Arms, then your Longinus Spear. Probably going to skip the Fenrir's Tooth, maybe not, just depending on the enemy team comp and your team's comp. And then, you know, go with the last item. So that's her build for Slayer Lane. But yeah, so let me know what you think. This is my first video ever. Let me know what you like, what you don't like down in the comments. Give me some honest feedback, because I want to get better and possibly you know, post more videos like this if I have time. But the next video, I'm going to do a match analysis of a game with Slayer Chi. That way you guys can you know, be in my mind, and also I can give you guys some tips on that. Anyways, appreciate you guys for all your support. Peace.